time to get an epidural, even though that is what I had planned. And still, this birth experience was so positive, so beautiful, and I just want to share it. How did we get here? Tuesday morning, I woke up having had some contractions overnight. So I excitedly texted my family that morning, was like, hey, I'm getting contractions, but then they went away by 8:30. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's just Braxton Hicks. So I go about my day, go thrifting with my daughter. At about 2:30, I want to say, they show up again. Now, I try to ignore them because I don't really want to get my hopes up again. I don't want to get everybody else's hopes up again. And I'm kind of just like waiting for them to go away, but spoiler, they never did. We get home, and from like 3:30 to 5:30, I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna go lay in bed and let these contractions pass. I tried timing them because my doctor had said they happen every 5 minutes for a minute each for an hour. They keep that up, then come into the hospital. And sometimes it was 12 minutes, sometimes it was 8 minutes. Every now and then it'd be like a 20-minute gap. Now, if I stood up, they sped up in frequency, so I just mostly stayed laying down. My husband came home from work at about 5:36-ish. He was like, hey, you know, maybe we should call your aunt, have her come stay the night. She lives an hour away. It might be better just to have her here. And I was like, no, I could probably make it through the night. Such a long drive. I don't want to give her a false alarm. Like this morning they came and they went. Now he had said, I need a rule of like, if you do this or say this, then I know like we need to call your aunt. And I was like, well, if you see me get a tub, call her then. Time goes on. The contractions still don't go away. Dinner's over. It's time to put my toddler down. And the moment my husband goes into her bedroom and closes the door, I had gotten a pretty dang strong contraction, and I was like, we shouldn't be here. But instead of interrupting the putting my toddler down to bed process, I let him put her down. And about 15-20 minutes later, I say, babe, I should have listened to you. You should call her now. Because I don't think I'm gonna make it through the night. He says, okay, I will text her, and if she doesn't respond, I'll call her and I'll get a tub going for you. So I go into the tub, and man, the contractions are hitting. Eventually he says she's on her way, but she's leaving now. She lives an hour away and has to drive back country roads to get to us, where there's a lot of critters out on the road at that time. So she's gonna be driving slow so that she safely arrives here. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to wait that long. I need to get to the hospital. I need to get that epidural because this is just like exponentially getting stronger. So he's like, okay, sounds good. Like, we'll do what we need to do to get you in the truck. And at this point, I'm like on the floor, can't really move when a contraction hits. I'm like, babe, press on my hips. And then I have a moment to breathe, and he'd go running, you know, grab whatever we needed, get my daughter. So we load up in the car. My husband was definitely driving fast, but he also put his flashers on. And of course, the first car we pass on the interstate is an interstate policeman. He followed us to the hospital and was very kind once we got there. He was like, yeah, I kind of figured maybe this is what the situation was, so I just figured I'd let you guys go on by. He was very nice. I just remember walking in the parking lot being like, the last thing I want to do right now is walk. I want my epidural. That's what I really want. So we get in there, and one of the things they say is you can't get an epidural until we run your labs. Typically they come back pretty darn quick, but that is one of the steps that needs to happen. And then another one of the nurses says, and another thing that we have to do is we'll probably do a cervical check, and then maybe in an hour, depending on how dilated you are, give you another cervical check, because if we can't show or prove that you're in labor, we can't justify the epidural. In my mind, I know that I need it, but they're trying to do their jobs, and so I just kind of am like, okay, sounds good. It's like, now unless you're at like a 5, then we could give you the epidural. The whole time I had been thinking like, I really don't want to come in and then just be like, girl, you're at a 3, like go back home. And anyways, they checked me. Turns out I'm 8.5 centimeters dilated, and they are like, oh, well, we will try to get you an epidural, but it seems like this baby's coming pretty dang fast, so we will do our best, but I don't know if it's gonna get to you in time. They cart me over into an official room because I had just been in a holding room. They hook me up so I can get the IV started. Ask them like, at what point does transition happen? And they're like, right about where you're at. I'm like, oh my gosh. At this point, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna get it. I don't think I'm getting this epidural. And my water never broke. They ended up having to break it for me when I was about like 9 centimeters dilated. And I would say it is not long after that that I definitely got the sensation of like, girl, you need to start pushing. And that was something that totally shocked me. The nurses had said like, push through the contraction, and I'm like, since when does that make sense? Like, if you touch something hot, you don't just like press your hand further into the hot pan to help with the pain. You like, you know, you pull away. But that is not the experience that I had as soon as it came to contractions. It was like, okay, this painful thing is coming, but I'm actually gonna lean into it, and it helped with the pain. Did it still hurt? Yes, totally. I would say that I probably got 3 or 4 solid pushes in every time a contraction would come. I did that for 5 or 6 contractions, and then she was here. My husband got to catch, which is something we were super excited about because not every doctor lets the dad catch the baby. It's kind of just dependent on their comfortability level. and it's hunting season. So my doctor did not have time to get to the hospital. It was a different doctor that stood in for him. Kind of like the cherry on top or the icing on the cake that I want to add to this whole story is 3 or 4 weeks before I gave birth, I was at church and a friend was praying over me, and she just was like, you know what? I don't know what this means, but I really feel like the Lord is telling me to like tell you to just like be bold and courageous over this labor, over this delivery. I don't know what that means. Like, did you have a traumatic birth experience with baby number 1? And I was like, no, it was great. I loved my induction. We have an induction scheduled at 41 and 3 days for this one if she's not here by then. And she's like, oh, well, I just really feel strongly, be strong and courageous. And so she just prayed that over me. I tried not to read too much into it, you know, like I didn't want to get anxious over my labor and be like, okay, you know, what do I need to be bold and courageous about? You know, I just tried to like relax and be like, you know, this is encouragement that I'll hold on to and I'll know what to do with when the time comes. And sure enough, at the dawning realization of not being able to get an epidural, I was like, this is what the Lord meant. I held on to that throughout the contractions. That was something I was just like sort of saying over myself, like, you can do this. You're bold and courageous. We are having this baby. You're gonna get to hold her very soon. So especially if you've gotten this far in the video and you're expecting, I want to impart that onto you. Go and do the dang thing, mama. Be bold and courageous. We are so excited to welcome Miss Mariah May into the world. I hope this story encouraged you.